Greetings, fellow humans, living men and women. My name is Ingrid Huffman, Sacred Blue Heron Woman. I am the essence and presence of all that is, ever has been, and can be. And today I'm by myself because Julian couldn't make it. And what I'd like to muse about today is what is the importance of natural law? And how will it give us true freedom? I mean, we have government and all, right? We have freedom. Why not? Why not just be okay with it? Well, first of all, natural universal law is based on principles and truths that are inherent to creation. They emanate from divine source, the God, the Tao, the Veda, whatever you want to call it. And man's laws don't. They're based on dogmatic beliefs and the need to control people and make everyone believe just like we do. Natural law, universal law, is easily harmonized with due to understanding and knowledge of it. Man's law is complied with due to fear of punishment. Natural universal law is just that. It's universal. It exists and applies everywhere in the universe, regardless of the location. And man's law differs with location, and it's based on the whims of legislators. That's called moral relativism. Natural law is eternal and immutable. It exists and applies for as long as the universe exists. It cannot be changed. Man's law, once again, changes with time based upon the whim of the legislators. Again, moral relativism. So what does this mean for all of us, really? So if a man-made law is in harmony with natural law, then it would follow logically that that's redundant, since it's restating a truth that's inherent, pre-existing, and self-evident. So therefore, for man to repeat this is both irrelevant and unnecessarily. A man's law, if it's in opposition to natural law, then it must follow in our heads, that in our brains, in our minds, that logically it's both false, incorrect, and immoral, harmful. So in other words, well, not in harmony with natural law. So it can't be legitimately binding on anyone. So in light of this, all the government we live by is irrelevant and unnecessary. Equality under natural law gives everyone the same rights. It doesn't mean uniformity. It doesn't mean you gotta, I think a lot of us think of maybe the Japanese schoolgirls all dressed in the same uniform when we think equality. That's uniformity. That's not equality. Under equality, no one has more or less rights than anyone else, and rights weren't created by humanity. They're the birthright of us living flesh and blood men and women, gifted to us by the Creator, the Tao, the Veda, Great Spirit, Great Mystery. So there can not be any group of human beings capable of granting us our rights, nor is there any human being or group of humans that can revoke our rights. Government is nothing but men acting in concert, men and women. The morality and value of government, like any other association of men and women, will be no greater and no less than the morality and value of the men and women comprising it. Since government is nothing but men and women, its inherent authority is to act is in no way greater or different than the authority to act as an individual in isolation. Government has no magic powers or authority that are not possessed by me, the individual, or you, the individual, the living flesh and blood human, man or woman. So I would say that let he or she who asserts that government may do that which the individual may not assume the onus of proof and demonstrate their contention with this. Government comes from the Latin verb gubernare, to control, and the Latin noun mens means mind. So government is what? Mind control. The etymological origin of the English suffix ment is often debated, yet it's pretty clear that those who created the English language deliberately chose mens, the Latin word for mind, to mean the state of or the condition of direct keeping with the first law of the great principle, the great mystery, the Tao. This law of mentalism, which demonstrates that in order for any particular thing, event, circumstance, state, or condition to exist, as it currently does in our manifested reality, it must have first existed in the mind. The word authority comes from the Latin and is under jurisdiction. So jurisdiction means juris is law, and the Latin verb dictere, to speak, to say. So jurisdiction literally means to say what the law is. So authority is an illusion of a diseased psyche based entirely in violence and built on the erroneous and dogmatic belief that some people are masters who have the moral right to issue commands, and others are slaves who have a moral obligation to obey the masters. The belief in the legitimacy of any authority outside of yourself is the belief in the legitimacy of slavery. Ultimately, authority is the idea that man can become God through jurisdiction and dictate the law. Whereas when you live your life in harmony, governed by natural law, you know that you are one. You don't have to try to become God, because you are a droplet, a wave in the ocean of the Tao. So let's explore this and unpack this further, muse about this further, and bring in monotheistic religion. The word religion comes from the Latin verb religere, to tie back, to hold back, or to thwart from progress, to bind. So monotheistic religion is a system of control based in unchallenged dogmatic belief, which holds back the progress of consciousness. There's really, with all the separation and reductionism we've been experiencing, especially in the last 2 years, there's really only one true divide that separates us humans, men and women, into two distinct types of individuals, and it's not gender. The criterion for this divide is whether or not you, as a human man or living, breathing, flesh and blood man or woman, believes in the authority of something of government. And so therefore you believe that there is legitimacy to slavery, or you're an anarchist that knows you are a sovereign, living, breathing, flesh and blood man or woman who's taken the oath to do no harm to yourself or anyone else. So why do we give our sovereignty away? Well, because we fear chaos, we fear change, and so we feel like that if we put someone else in command, there's not going to be change, right? We don't have to have chaos. True freedom includes infinite possibility, which by definition includes the possibility of chaos. So, therefore, if we want to live in true freedom, we must embrace chaos without fear. Because the natural world is always moving from a state of chaos to harmonious order, and our 3D world is always moving from a state of matter to chaos. How many times do things break down in your house or your car or something? Or your body, only because you believe that your body's meant to break down. So the fear of the possibility of chaos is the death of our imagination. And some young grade schoolers asked Einstein once how they could be as smart as he, and he told them to read fairy tales, and they thought that was really silly. So they said, well, then how can we be smarter than you are? And he said, read more fairy tales. Imagination. So when we follow the orders of government, it means that you do what you're told to do without judging for yourself whether the action you are being ordered to carry out is in harmony with natural law or in opposition to natural law. If an individual is following orders, that individual, living human flesh and blood, cannot be exercising your own conscience. Because to exercise your own conscience means you willfully choose to say, yeah, no, sorry, I'm not going to follow that order. Following orders, I was just following orders, is never a valid excuse and never can be accepted as responsibility for behavior that leads to harm of yourself or others, including all of the natural living world. Mahatma Gandhi once said, you assist an evil system most effectively by obeying its orders and decrees. An evil system never deserves such allegiance. Allegiance to it means partaking of the evil. A living flesh and blood human who knows they're connected to divinity will resist an evil system with his or her whole soul. Now let's look at this word evil. This is another evil versus good, is another duality created by us. Evil is just simply live, or life, live, spelled backwards. So when something is evil, it's without life. It's totally separate from life, from natural living life. So, who bears the moral culpability of the government? The order givers or the order followers? The order follower always bears more moral culpability because the order follower is the actual one performing the action. So we all say, let's take these bad guys to jail and free us who are actually participating and carrying out the actions. That's not responsibility. There are no cop-outs when we're living governed by natural law. Accepting responsibility for oneself, for yourself, your words, your thoughts, and your actions, because you alone make choices. You alone are answerable to the consequences of your behavior. The feeble excuse that your boss required it, your company required it so that you could continue to get a paycheck, it just holds no truth or justification. So let's look at natural law again versus man-made law and see how it affects us daily. So again, fear of freedom, where does it come from? The refusal to own personal responsibility, maybe self-loathing due to lack of respect and abandonment issues. But if we choose to heal all that and live in harmony with natural law, we learn that we don't have to give our power away, that we can live in true freedom, peace, and prosperity, evolutionary progress, and thrive through it all. Living in opposition to natural law under the force of government leads to control, enslavement, war, evolutionary stagnation, and extinction. And that's how we have gotten to this point we're at, where we are truly facing the extinction of the human species. The Gaia theorists say it's all, all of life is going to become extinct. Yet, no, that's not true. That's not valid, because we are the youngest species, and Mother Earth can certainly survive without us. She would like our participation, but she will certainly evolve, as will all of the other living birds, bees, bugs, four-legged the swimmers, the creepy crawlers, the birds. They will all survive and evolve without us. They don't need us humans. We're the youngest species. So it's only us that are about to become extinct, because no one else lives in opposition to natural law. We're the only ones that have lived in opposition to natural law for centuries. So, unpacking it further, what does it mean? Well, let's look at things like licensure. We all think that we need to run and go get license, right? We need to go get certification to be a massage therapist. We need to be licensed as a doctor. We need to be USDA certified. We need to have that, this, that, and the other. That is actually totally and 100% against natural law. There is no requirement for that kind of stuff in natural law, because as soon as you believe that someone else has the authority to give you the right to practice or to give of yourself to others through massage or anything, then you've given away your authority to that person, that other living being, and you've become their slave. As long as you will live by the oath of doing no harm to yourself or anyone else, and to live in harmonious order with natural law, nothing bad can come of it. Nothing harmful can come of it. We don't need government, centralized government, or anything else to give us our rights and our freedom. We can live in true freedom and govern ourselves, govern our own villages, have our own highways, make our own highways and roads and schools, and live in complete sovereignty without this centralized governmental slavery. And that is what living in true freedom is partly all about. There's much more to it than that. But that's all I will talk about for today. Once again, my name is Ingrid Huffman, Sacred Blue Heron Woman. I am the essence and presence of all that is, ever has been, and can be.